Hi everyone, we are back with our second video on building digital experiences, and I'm here with Scott.
Hey Stephen. Hey everybody.
So today what we're talking about is CMS or DXP. And the question I'll start off with you, Scott, is when do you need either, and when should you start looking past a CMS, and what's the difference?
Start with the last question there first, which is what's the difference? At the core of a DXP is a good content management system. And a DXP allows you to take your content further into other channels, into other mediums, to measure it, to personalize it. So it allows you to do a lot more with your content. A classic content management system is a great tool for publishing, scheduling, good, rich content. When do you need one and when do you need the other? I think what we advocate here is just be careful not to chase the newest, shiniest thing that all the, marketers and analysts and us are talking about. If the extent of your digital experience is a good quality website, and maybe you've got some, email marketing going on and even some other digital ads. If that is working for you, if that's economically valuable, if the capacity of your team is working well with that kind of a solution and that kind of an experience, there's nothing wrong with it. However, if you are ready to take that further, if you're ready to tackle personalization and the integration of your data across, the platform, from e-commerce to social to mobile apps and things like that, then, maybe you want to explore a digital experience platform. Now, I understand that, for some organizations, there's more moving parts and you don't know the answer to that question. You can't properly decide, well, do I just need a CMS, or am I going to be able to leverage the additional benefits and features of a whole DXP? And Stephen, I think you've helped clients in the past sort of with that evaluation. So, what kind of process, how would you approach that?
Well, not to sound, cheesy, but as most people know, you need to assess and then you need to plan. And typically in the assessment phase, what we're really trying to do is to establish what you currently have. So the model is we're going to break down your current digital assets, that be commerce, CMS, whatever you're doing for content marketing, and just address what you're doing there. And we want to do that and have discussions with all the major business units that you're working with, that your teams are involved with, because the last thing you want to do is really have any of that outside discussion later on after you're deciding on whether you want to stick with a core CMS or a DXP. So those discussions with the business units are key. So the questions coming in, asking those and asking people what that roadmap is that you're trying to achieve. And we're not talking about a roadmap that has a wish list this long. What we're talking about is what specifically you're trying to do in the next 2 years at most. And that, with the assessment, we'll usually come in and do a heuristic evaluation. So we'll look over your planning. How are you content planning? How are you working with commerce? How are the integration? How is the functionality? Are you working with search? All of those combined is whether or not you will be able to move towards a DXP versus using the current platforms for what you just need. So again, going back, it really is the assessment first, and then going into the business planning and governance. So when we're talking about governance, you need to have an executive champion every single time, somebody who's going to say, okay, I'm going to take this on, because you need with your governance is to figure out who's going to own what. And a lot of times this is where organizations fail. So when they go to acquire a DXP, they're not ready.
Right.
So that's what we do and try to achieve in that process to help people figure out CMS or DXP.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're saying here is don't just go consider, or don't even go down the road to pick a DXP if you're not ready for DXP. And if you know from your own vantage point that a content management system is going to serve you well, stick with that. That's great. You're not going to be distracted or trying to overinvest in your platform. And if you're in a larger organization, follow that methodology that Stephen just laid out and make sure that you capture some information. And a lot of this is outlined in our white paper. So good luck with that endeavor.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the time, Scott. Thank you, everyone. This
Thanks.
is the second video. Bye now.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Listen, we've got a brand new white paper on how to select your DXP. You can grab that by going to flyw.co/DXP.
Now, we're also going to be running a workshop on May 3rd at 12 p.m. on how to actually assess your digital experience. So hop on if you have time.
And if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe.
Hit that subscribe and like button. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.